G'day, how you doing? Adam from Wholehearted Hypnosis here. Today I want to talk to you about the gap between expectation and reality and how that gap can cause you frustration and stop you from getting what you want. Now, many years ago, I used to practice Kung Fu. Now, don't hold it against me. It was before I discovered Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm a lifer now. I'm doing BJJ for the rest of my life, even though I'm broken right now. Now, what I can remember from that particular school, and it was actually a good school, it just missed a couple of key things in terms of martial arts. But up on the altar they had out the front, yes, they did have an altar. There was a list, and I can remember seeing the list, and it had about 30 different precepts, ideas that you could apply to fighting and to life. Now, these were really great concepts, great ideas. There was a lot of thought and a lot of philosophy behind them, and I really liked it, and I still like it now. Yes, I might not do that martial art anymore, but I can still appreciate what they were trying to teach. Anyway, the only one of those precepts that I can remember word for word is this one. Expectation is the path to defeat. I'm going to say that one more time. Expectation is the path to defeat. Now, when I first read that, I only read it in the context of fighting. And that would go something like, if you're in an altercation and you expect someone to throw you a left hook, and you decide that if they're going to throw a left hook, you're going to do a certain particular block, and then they don't throw a left hook and instead they throw a right cross or a straight right or a body kick, and all you're doing is going ready for this and you get hit in this side of the face, well, then you've got yourself a bit of a problem. You expected something, a different thing occurred, and you got punched in the face or kicked in the body or whatever else happened. So it's not a good result, i.e. you got hit because you expected one thing at the cost of being prepared for what might be real in that situation. Now, it took me a little while to understand that that particular precept and all the other 30 were applicable to life as well. Now, what does that mean? Well, I did a lot of thinking about this. I am a bit of a thinker. It's probably why I'm grey. And what I've come to discover over the years, and maybe I'm halfway through my years, I don't know, we'll see. I'll check in 40 or 50 years' time if YouTube's still here. That every time I expect something to occur a certain way in my relationships or communications, I'm setting myself up for failure, or I'm setting myself up for defeat. Because if the other person responds in a different way that I'm not ready for, or is different to what I expect, not only is it jolting, but it also flies in the face of what I want. And because I've created myself a position, I can become very, very inflexible, and then I've got a difficulty. I might do something like really defend my position and start arguing when that's not the best way of going about that conversation. And I expected a certain thing and I didn't get it, and that leads to frustration. Now, let me give you an example. I'm a Virgo. Now, that means nothing to me, but some of you out there who are watching that will say, well, you're a bit of a tidy freak and you're very particular and you like things a certain way. You're right. I don't know if that's because I'm a Virgo or some other, I don't know what it is. I'm happy to say I don't know. But anyway, I do like things to be quite tidy, things in their place, and I like that because then I can find it. I like to be organized. I don't like wasting time looking for stuff that should be somewhere else. See, should. Should is all about expectation. Now, if you want to learn about should, I do have another video called Should versus Could, which I recommend you have a squiz at. And if I can, I'll put a link down here somewhere to it, probably in the little description section. Anyway, let's say I have an expectation that the lounge room in my house with my wife and two kids, who are both primary school aged, is in a certain state of tidiness all the time. If you're a parent, you will understand that that is the path to defeat, because there is no way that in a functional living household with two kids and a spouse that the house is going to be the way you expect it to be all the time. I'm just setting myself up for failure. I'm setting myself up for defeat if I expect that the table's going to be clean, the floor's going to be clean, the cushions are going to be on the couch at the correct perpendicular angle to the autumn equinox or whatever it may be. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. I'm being a little bit silly on purpose because I want to lighten the mood a little. It's not all, it's not everything doesn't have to be serious, but the truth of the matter is, if I hold tightly to that expectation of cleanliness and tidiness, and I'm not flexible enough to understand that the reality is something completely different, then I'm in trouble. So I call the distance, This finger's a little bit weird. Let's try that. The distance between your expectations and reality, the gap. So one thing I like to say to myself is mind the gap, which is harking back to my time in London where you couldn't jump on a train without hearing that announcement. And so it's stuck in my head, so I use it. Mind the gap, because it's that gap between expectation and reality that causes the problem. And the bigger the gap, the bigger the problem. If your expectation is miles away, figuratively speaking, from what you really expect, expectation and reality are miles away, a long way away, then the frustration is going to be great. Now, what can you do about this? Well, really, you've got 3 options, maybe 2 options. Let's have a think about that. I'm going to say 2 options. 1, no, I've thought about it. There really are 3 options. 1, you can stick to your guns. You can argue till you're blue in the face about how your expectation is right and how everyone should move towards you. That's option 1. Option 2 is you can resign. You can throw your hands up in the air and say, this is all bull. I'm not happy about it, but I don't care anymore. I've had enough. I just don't care. Do whatever you want to do. Oh, that doesn't really work, let me tell you. But you can try that. You can just resign. But the problem with resignation is resentment. You still have this need for the world to comply to your expectation. And they're not, but you've just thrown your arms up because you can't get your way. It's like a kid having a bit of a tanty, honestly. A little tantrum. I don't recommend resignation. So what's the third option? Acceptance. You can accept things as they are. You can acknowledge that you have a certain expectation, and you can also acknowledge that other people have expectations that may be different to what you have. And when you accept the reality of the situation, no matter what it is, you give yourself permission and space to try and find a solution that's good for everyone. So let's go over those 3 one more time. Stick to your guns and tell everyone else they're wrong and they should do it your way. Resign, build resentment, or accept the situation as it is and then look at ways that you can change it that's beneficial to everyone that's involved. Now, option 1 and 2 are easy. It doesn't take much to stick to your guns or to just throw your arms up in the air. But there are ramifications. Option number 3 is not quite as easy. It's a simple decision, but the actions are a lot more difficult. You really have to change the way you think about what you want and how you expect things to be, where you can be flexible and what you can do. But what it does do is it opens up room for you to have a discussion with other people and for you to even investigate yourself. Why is this particular thing so important to you? Can you just let it go? Or do you really have to communicate to other people why it's important to you? Rather than just sticking to your guns and telling everyone else that they're wrong, maybe you can communicate why it's important to you and let other people understand that. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. So the idea of this video is that expectation is the path to defeat. When your expectation and your reality are different and there's a gap between them, that gap is what causes you frustration, and that you have 3 ways that you can deal with it. Sticking to your guns, resigning, or practicing acceptance. And if you would like to learn more about how you can practice acceptance and how you can communicate better and get better outcomes for your life, for the people around you, and live the wholehearted life that you really, really want, so you can go all in rather than being half-assed, then hit subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what your experience is. And if you really want to go on a bit of a journey, head over to wholeheartedhypnosis.com. Thank you for watching.